So Boulder, Colorado, an outdoor playground, a foodie haven, a college town, an affluent town, a place that people come to for tourism. It's amazing, and now you're considering a possible move there, but you're not sure how expensive it might be in comparison to other neighborhoods or cities around the Denver metro area. Well, stick around, I'm gonna cover a bunch of those details coming up next. Now, I'm not sure if you've ever been to Boulder before, but I'm guessing if you're watching this video, you probably have, and you're interested to see maybe is it or is it not the fit for you. I have shot a video about this previously called The Pros and Cons of Living in Boulder, Colorado, which I highly recommend checking out. And in here, I'm gonna do a bit more of a deeper dive into the exact costs that you can expect when considering this location. So with that, let's just go ahead and jump in. And I'm gonna start off with some of the highest costs that you can expect when moving to the Boulder area, because I'm sure that's what you're mostly interested in learning about. So when comparing Boulder to the rest of the continental United States, using a scale of 100, Boulder ranks at 143%, meaning it's about 43% more expensive to live in Boulder than it is in a bunch of the other cities and states around the United States. Now, while that sounds a little bit unnerving, let's put it into context. Colorado itself is actually pretty expensive in comparison to a lot of other cities and states. And Boulder, because of its location, being really close to the foothills, also pretty close to Denver, not too far from Denver International Airport by about 11-ish miles or so, and being a college town, it has a huge draw not only for tourism, but also for students and for people who want to live there. So that helps drive the cost up, unfortunately, if you're considering that location. Now, comparing Boulder to other areas around Denver and around the state of Colorado itself, it sounds really expensive, but it's actually not as expensive as places like Greenwood Village down in southeastern Denver. It's also not as expensive as Cherry Creek, nowhere near as expensive as Aspen or any of the major mountain towns like Dillon, Frisco, or Breckenridge. So on the surface, it sounds really, really expensive because it's probably one of the more affluent locations in Denver, but overall, it's not the most expensive place, so it's just kind of take that with a grain of salt. The number one driving cost to move into Boulder is going to actually be the cost of housing, which isn't a surprise because housing is very expensive in most places across the US, and in Boulder, that is no exception. So starting with the number one cost you can expect will probably be your single family townhome or condo purchase. And for your frame of reference, an average single family home in Boulder, Colorado, as the time of shooting this video, is going for about $944,000. That'll get you roughly about a 3-bed, 2-bath house, and maybe a parking space, maybe a single car garage. It really depends on the property and the neighborhood. Now, if you're looking at condos and townhomes will be approximately $650,000 for a 3-bed, 3-bath at about 1,300 square feet, and condominiums, as the time of this shooting this video, are running about $520,000 for a 3-bed and 2-bath as well, with a smaller square footage footprint of about 750 to 1,300 square feet or so. That said, I know there are a lot of people with lots of disposable income that are moving here from larger cities and larger states, and they want that Colorado feel and vibe, and also want that bigger home, that more luxury feel, and Boulder absolutely has that. The majority of single-family homes in the area are actually starting at an average price point of about $1.3 million, and it's not uncommon to see the majority of homes at 4 beds and 4 baths starting closer to $2.5 million, moving their way all the way up to $10 to $12 million, depending on where you are in the foothills, how big your plot is, etc. So you really get what you pay for in the Boulder area, but you won't lose out on that because Boulder is a beautiful spot and it is constantly appreciating, so you can expect a decent return on your investment regardless of where you purchase. And to kind of ram home that point, year-over-year appreciation for the entire city of Boulder is sitting right now at about 2.5 to 3.6% appreciation, which means you can continuously see that profit margin grow in your equity on your purchase. And the bigger the cost, the more the equity you can expect to see, etc. So it is definitely a wise investment if it fits your financial monthly budget. On to another cost associated with housing, and I get this question quite a lot, and it's very difficult to answer because it is a constantly moving target, and this is the question surrounding homeowners associations or HOAs. There are definitely HOAs in Boulder and actually throughout the majority of Colorado. There are some locations that don't have them, which are great, but there's pros and cons to that, which I'll cover in a different video. For your frame of reference, for Boulder, the HOAs range as low as $75 per year in some places and as high as about $5,000 per month in others. So no HOA is the same. They're independently owned and operated. They have different coverages, different costs, different restrictions, which are completely annoying, but also help keep property values up. So the point of that all being, work with your realtor, ideally me. I'd love to help you if you're looking in that area, but talk to whoever you're working with to make sure the HOA and the property you're getting yourself into matches your personal lifestyle wants and needs. And real quick on that point, if this is your first time to the channel, my name is Bill Knapp. I'm a local residential realtor, which is part of the reason I put these videos out. Hopefully it gives you information and details on what you can expect when you come to the Denver Metro, Boulder surrounding areas. If you want to talk to me about a possible move here, either into the state from another state or relocation inside the state itself, I'd love to chat, see if working together is a fit. My details and contact are all listed below. Reach out and I am the person that'll be chatting with you. So on to the next cost of living for Boulder, Colorado, which will be taxes, which everybody loves to talk about. Let's start with your sales tax. Colorado is actually one of the lowest rated taxes for the entire United States, coming in roughly at about 2.9%, ranking it 27th overall across the continental United States. That said, when you move to Boulder, the taxes are going to hover right about 9% because that includes your state, your county, and your city taxes. So just keep that 9% number in mind while you're doing your purchases, especially if it's a larger purchase like a new car or something with an outdoor recreation kind of need, because that 9% sales tax will be added onto your final bill. On to the next tax, because taxes are so fun to talk about. Let's talk about your property taxes. And for Boulder, Colorado, you can expect homes at approximately 1,000 square feet to cost about $2,000 to $3,000 or so per year in property taxes. If you move up a little bit higher into that 1,000 to 3,000 square foot total, your property taxes will hover right around $3,000 to $5,500. And then if you move into those little bit more luxurious homes at that 4,000 to 5,000 square foot plus, property taxes range quite a lot in these properties, starting roughly at about $5,500 on the low end. I've seen them as high as $26,000 and $32,000 on the high end, depending on the amount of square footage in the property and the amount of acreage that the property includes. All of that to say, just talk with your realtor or whoever you're working with to make sure that your HOA, your property, your taxes, and your loan all mesh together to fit your monthly budget. It's very important when making your consideration because this will be a monthly cost year over year for you. And the last cost you can expect on your property, which is combined together why the property is the biggest driver for your cost of living in Boulder, will be your insurance. And insurance varies a lot depending on where you are in the landscape, but for your general frame of reference, the average home price for insurance in Boulder is going currently at about $2,800 to $3,500 on the annual for your entire insurance premiums. One thing to consider when looking for insurance in the area, make sure you ensure that you are not in a NEPA flood zone. See what they have as far as their coverage for wildfires, because fires are definitely a problem in Boulder. Also check your wind and hail coverage to see what that looks like. So make sure you have a good insurance person. If you don't, I have plenty that I can refer you to for the area that are specific to Boulder. Now, we've covered all the major big costs you can expect as far as housing and expenses and such like that. Let's get into the more personal costs. And the biggest cost, surprise to me at least, was what has been classified as miscellaneous costs. And that can be anything from your eating out to your recreation, to your park passes, to your ski passes, to your personal living and lifestyle. And on the national scale, Boulder, because it is Boulder, ranks at 154%, meaning it's 54% higher on miscellaneous costs than the surrounding areas in Denver and also across the various states. Now, for your frame of reference, those miscellaneous costs can go up or down based on your personal lifestyle. I know that a lot of people move to Boulder because they love the outdoor playground-esque feel. I mean, if you want to do top rope climbing or skiing or go mountain biking, climbing, horseback riding, trail running, take your pick. It's literally right out your front door. And a lot of people spend a lot of money on things and goods at REI or other such outdoor spaces. So, I mean, even now, like I just bought a pair of running shoes for my wife for Christmas, and she's hopefully not listening to this video, video, just a good pair of trail running shoes is about $200 to $175. That's just for shoes. Now imagine what a backpack is going to cost you, plus park passes, plus what if you update your car and your SUV or something bigger? Those are all added costs which get lumped into that miscellaneous cost. You are in control of your miscellaneous costs. You can actually drive those up or down based on what you want, but a lot of people tend to spend a lot of money on all the goods, so it's really a personal choice. The next one coming up will be schools, and fortunately the public school system in Boulder is fantastic. It's highly rated, it's rated well on greatschools.org, it has an A rating on niche.com. I highly recommend you check out all the different schools depending on where your kiddos may be in the school cycle to see which school might be their best fit. Also, if you're looking for private schools, magnet schools, charter schools, they are available in Boulder. They will have an added cost, which I can't figure out how to cover now because they're completely variable depending on school and such. But ideally, if you're just putting your kids in the public school system, you can count on a very good education. Now, going hand in hand with schools will be clubs and sports and other kinds of recreation, extracurricular activities that go along with schools and kiddos, and those go all over the place. Competitive sports is enormous in Colorado, especially in Boulder. I have 2 kids that are in the system, and I can verify that the Boulder competitive leagues are very, very challenging, very difficult. So when a kid goes into any one of those programs, be whatever sport it might be, count on several hundred to several $1,000s additional to your costs on the annual. Now, a little bit of good news on costs. When it comes to utilities in Boulder, Colorado, depending on how you set your house up, on a scale of the national average, Boulder ranks at 92.5% versus the rest of the nation, meaning that it's lower utility cost to live in Boulder, Colorado. And I believe this has to do a lot with the green movement, some of the Nest thermostats, some of the solar. Some people have different kinds of ways of just recycling and doing things where they don't harvest as much energy and reduce their carbon footprint. There's a lot of avenues and a lot of incentives in Boulder for this, so that is actually a nice little Benny when living in the area. Now, phone, cable, internet are all very personal choices, but you can find those average costs online. My understanding is that your phone bill is roughly going to be anywhere from $45 to $125 for a single line, depending on your carrier and however much storage or whatever. The internet is actually a really important one, especially with the work from home movement, and Boulder is very supportive of that. Or if you're a student or somebody that's going to be buying and renting there for your students, you must have a very good internet connection so they can stay online to be getting those straight A's. And that cost goes up and down depending on the package as well. Last I checked, the internet is going to be roughly about $50 to $70 by itself, but because cable is cable, they're going to make you lump it into everything, which means you can expect closer to about $100 and $125 for your internet plus cable or streaming, etc. 2 more costs coming up before we round it out. The first being what I would consider like a snow tax, even though it's not a tax. If you live in Colorado, you're probably interested in some form of the outdoor snow winter sports, or maybe the mountain biking sports in the summer. And to get access to those gondolas and those gondola lifts, you're probably going to need either day passes, 4-packs, or season passes, depending on which mountain you go to. Eldora is right there near Boulder. It's actually very affordable and economic. However, most people tend to go up I-70 into the mountains, and they're going to be jumping on either the Icon or the Epic Pass. As of shooting of this video, those passes are astronomically expensive per person at about $850 to $1,100 for the season. So consider that for if you're going to be doing something outdoorsy, it might be part of your budget. And the last one I'll put in there, and this is really personal as well, but Colorado is very much a pet-friendly state. Dogs, cats, take your pick, and veterinary bills are not cheap. So when you have a pet, you're definitely going to want to take care of your puppy, make sure that they're microchipped if that's kind of in your purview, and the average vet bill for just a typical visit is going to be running you in Boulder about $70 to $65 or so. If you're having neuters and spays and stuff, it goes up or down. But budgeting for your pet plus the food at that 9% sales tax rate is very important when living in Boulder. You want to consider all these factors to help you decide, is living here economically feasible for you, or are you going to look somewhere a little further north, south, or east? It's a very, very personal choice. So there you have it, a high level look down onto the costs of what you can expect when living in the Boulder area or moving to the Boulder location. If I said anything that was helpful to you along the way, I would really appreciate if you do me a favor, leave me a comment below, let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, what you agree with or not. Also, I would appreciate it if you consider hitting that like, subscribe, and bell notification. It keeps you in touch with me for each time I release a new video. Again, my name is Bill Knapp. I'm a residential realtor covering the Denver Metro and and Boulder areas. I'd love the chance to see if working together is a possible fit. Give me a call, text, or email. I will respond to you as fast as I can. And as always, thank you all for sticking around to the end. And I'll see you all on the next one. Cheers.